So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Venom? So let's start the series. Tusan, Ka-sam, Mito-chan, said an 8-year-old girl. Her red hair was wrapped into 2 short pigtails. She also had a heart-shaped face, with eyes that were deep cerulean blue and 3 whiskers on each cheek. She was wearing a loose red shirt with an orange toad on the front. Her feet finally adhered to the tree's surface after multiple tries, which thrilled her. Before the small girl could speak, a red blur grabbed her from the tree and took 2 actions. Spin her around so fast that the little girl thought she might throw up after squeezing her until she was having trouble breathing. The red blur was Nudamama Uzumaki, the young child's proud mother. "I'm so proud of you, dear! You will become a really strong kunoichi very soon!" Her father, Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash and 4th headmaster of Konoha, proudly declared, "Your mother is Rigth Nami-chan." There was another girl next to him who looked about 8 years old, and too much like Nami. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she had her mother's violet eyes instead of her father's blue ones, which is the only true difference between the two. This young lady is Mito Uzumaki Namikaze, the twin sister of Nami Uzumaki Namikaze. She cheered for 6 seconds for her younger twin. She said, "Yes, sis, I knew you'd do it." After mastering the core energy workout yesterday, she was waiting for her dear sister so they could advance together. After regaining her balance from her mother's spinning embrace of death, Nami grinned at her twin. "Yeah, now we can both continue to get stronger and become super powerful kunoichi." Following that, the family was seen playing and talking happily. Everyone who saw this family thought it was the epitome of a picture-perfect family. A proud and loving father, a mother who was protective but not overbearing, and 2 close siblings who loved each other. The fact that not every member of the perfect family was present for this special occasion was the only problem with this picture. In fact, the family member who was not present was watching the entire conversation via a window in the living room. The person was a young boy who was perhaps a year older than the twins. He had the same spiky golden hair, blood red at the tips, as his Minato. He had 3 whisker marks on each face, giving him a fox-like appearance. He was heatochrome because his left eye was ocean blue, and his right eye was deep violet. He was dressed in a wide-open orange jacket with the Uzumaki's iconic spiral on the back and a black shirt underneath. He also donned red umbu pants and blue shinobi sandals. This young man was Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the neglected son of Minato and his mother. Since it is true, you shouldn't question his carelessness. Naruto was neglected because of his younger sisters. 8 years ago, the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked Konoha, which led to this. The deadly Bijou was compelled to attack Konoha by a man brandishing the potent Sharingan eye of the Uchiha clan. Minato fought the masked man and succeeded in freeing the Kyuubi from his grasp with the help of legendary Sannin, who had arrived to inquire about the twins' birth at the time, having missed Naruto's because of his espionage efforts. Every shinobi in the vicinity, even the former 3rd headmaster, made every effort to fend off the Kyuubi. Minato's appearance and use of his Hiraishin allowed the Kyuubi to move the attack away from the village that was on fire. The Kyuubi began charging a Bijudama to erase Konoha from the map in his fury, while still partially enthralled. The fabled Sannin with a battle toad drove Kyuubi back before Minato arrived with Gamabunta, the boss toad. Together, they were able to force Kyuubi to leave the hamlet and move to a safer location where they could engage in combat. During the long and difficult battle, Minato and a Sage Mode legendary Sannin were flung about like cats, and the Kyuubi soon proved why it was the strongest of the tailed beasts by beating both the boss toad and the battle toad Gamaken. Even though Minato realized they wouldn't prevail in the fight, he went to get Naruto and his girls so he could seal the Kyuubi away once more. After a brief fight with his wife and 5th headmaster, who was the only reason Nudamam was still alive other from her blood as an Uzumaki, He teleported back to the battlefield to witness Kyuubi defeat Gamaken, another Battletoad legendary Sannin produced. Minato quickly used the Reaper Death Seal and summoned the Shinigami himself to seal the Kyuubi. With the help of the Death God, the Kyuubi was split into 3 sections. The Yang core energy entered Mito, the Yin core energy entered Nami, and the soul entered a still frightened but confused Naruto. They were unaware that their most potent element, the Kyuubi's soul, was progressively fusing with Naruto. The 4th headmaster and legendary Sannin were shocked when the Shinigami allowed Minato to live even though he was ready to have his soul taken. He claimed that since things were progressing, his soul was unnecessary, but he did not anticipate that he would be lucid when they next met. Later, Minato told the people of Konoha what had happened and declared that his daughters were the city's heroes for stopping the beast from becoming powerful. Thus, the now famous Princess of Konoha received cheers from the crowd. Since Naruto wasn't as special as his sisters, Minato and Naruto's mother began teaching them how to use the Kyuubi's violent core energy when the twins were 3 years old. None of them paid attention to Naruto Namikaze, who was 10 minutes older than Nami and Mito. He was a boy with ocean blue eyes, blonde hair, and a black shirt, black shorts, and shinobi sandals. His attitude was solemn as he peered out his window at his alleged family. He shut his window and stared at his room, which was decorated with paintings by Naruto. A man wearing a black and white suit that covered his entire body and had a web pattern was the focal point of one of the paintings, which stood out despite the fact that most of them showed different scenes. The most noticeable aspect of the mask was the white spider emblem on his chest, which had 2 bright yellow lenses for the eyes. You see, while his brothers were cherished, everyone ignored Naruto and assumed he was just another child. They disregarded all of the obligations that came with raising a family in addition to the training. Birthdays, family meetings, family gatherings, and sometimes even dinners. When he sought anything different from what the twins wanted. You can probably guess what happened after Naruto made his choice. Even though they didn't do much, at least his own sisters tried to show him some affection in contrast to his parents. The people, on the other hand, suffered greatly since they believed Naruto to be the evil fox that destroyed their town. They would sneer at him, attack him, and curse him to death at different moments. They believed that by damaging the vessel, they were also damaging the fox, and that was enough for those who attacked even though they knew Naruto wasn't the Kyuubi. Both his godparents, legendary Sannin and 5th headmaster, and his father's last surviving disciple, 6th headmaster Hatake, favored the twins over him. Naruto only interacted with the Hyuga clan in the village after delaying the Kumo Jonin long enough for Hayashi to step in and save Hinata. The Uchiha clan also supported Itachi when he brought Naruto home to get medical help after he was seen bleeding from one of the villager attacks. He became friendly with Sasuke and Satsuki Uchiha, Itachi's younger brother and sister, during his 2 days there. His family was unaware of his absence. However, Itachi and Shisui Uchiha were the only people that helped Naruto with his training. Naruto was found by himself in a training facility by Itachi and Shisui. Itachi and Shisui were startled that Yondaime and his wife would ignore their own child, which significantly reduced their love for them. When Itachi asked Naruto why he wasn't practicing with his siblings, Naruto said, "Why would I train with people who ignore me?" After that day, Itachi and Shisui would train Naruto whenever they could, but Naruto was happy to have friends. Shisui was the one who trained Naruto the most because Itachi was in Umbu. Naruto embraced Shisui's lessons like a fish, learning how to walk on trees, walk on water, and even do fire spirit art. Naruto's pals were Iam, 3rd head instructor Hiruzen Sarutobi, who helped him study seals, and Tsuchi Ichiraku, a daughter-father who ran a ramen stand and periodically chastised Naruto. After he heard his parents laughing after Nami fell from the tree on top of Mito, Naruto's eyes widened in anger. He didn't hate them yet, but he didn't like being ignored. He no longer regarded any of his sisters as family, though he still harbored some affection for them. Unless it's official, he seldom ever refers to himself as Namikaze or Uzumaki, and he hates formalities anyhow. He passed right by it on his way to his room after he sighed and realized he could no longer watch his sister work out without him. Before reaching the front door, he also went by his sister's room. After leaving his family home, Naruto headed to his training grounds, where Itachi and Shursui taught him new fighting skills. However, Shursui and Itachi were both on assignments today, so Naruto was training alone. When Naruto reached his training site below the headmaster monument, he used his massive core energy reserves to make 100 shadow clones. He also removed scrolls from his father's collection that he had copied, which included the Hiraishin, the Wind Power, and Elemental Spirit Art. Naruto also plans to combine his elements with the Wind Power and finish in order to exact revenge on his father, the legendary Sannin, and the sixth headmaster for his ability to achieve something they have never been able to or will never be able to. Naruto tossed the scrolls to the clones and said, "Get to work." Naruto continued his routines, which comprised 100 sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, and 20 laps, because clones only repair memories, not muscle mass. Halfway through his training, the ground broke way beneath Naruto, causing him to fall hard to the ground. Damn it, what happened and where am I? Naruto asked himself, but then he turned to see that he was in what looked like a research facility, complete with high-tech equipment all around and tables covered with work papers and blueprints. He remarked, "Oh man, this place looks cool," as he attempted to read some of the papers but was unable to do so due to the size and complexity of the language. Before he froze and heard a slithery voice calling out to him, he asked himself, "Wonder what this place is, and if Gigi or my so-called parents knew about this? Hey, is anyone here? Where'd that come from?" Naruto asked himself, looking a little alarmed. "Here, over here." Naruto turned to investigate a contraption that contained massive containment tubes in an attempt to locate the source of the voice. He approached it and looked inside, finding that each tube contained some kind of leaking substance. In the first tube, a pale, blackish slime was discovered. "What is this?" he asked as he put his palm on one of the tubes. The blob suddenly jumped to the side of the tube, possibly trying to get away, and Naruto yelled back. He saw the blob straining inside its containment units and exclaimed, "Okay, that's freaky." He went back to it and said, "I can hear you. What let you out?" He backed into a lever that set off sirens and said, "I'm not sure if that's such a good idea for some reason." Breach emergency. Breach emergency. The blob jumped out and started to move toward Naruto when he saw that the units had opened. Naruto slipped over his own feet while trying to escape. Naruto screamed as the oozes stuck to the soles of his sandals and started to move from the bottom to the top of him. Naruto fainted and laid on the ground in a completely dark room in front of massive gates. Naruto stood up, moaning, "What the hell just happened?" as he gazed up at the gates and saw a smiling face. The enormous fox thing cackled. "Well, looky here. The boy finally decides to show himself." "Kyubi, you brought me here?" cried Naruto, who knew the fox was imprisoned inside him when he first entered his mindscape. What most amazed him was that the fox was solely imprisoned inside of him and not his sisters. "I'm afraid of something else, not myself," Kyubi remarked. "And I would appreciate it if you would show yourselves." The previous blob had started to bubble, and a humanoid had sprung out of it as Naruto looked down in bewilderment. Out of the slime came a muscular, black and white creature with a black spider insignia on his front torso and rear. His eyes were a vivid yellow, and he had a fork-like tongue and a mouth full of sharp fangs. "Oh yeah, it feels good to finally move again," the monster said to itself. "And I have my little friend here to thank," he continued, looking at Naruto. "Please don't kill me." Naruto stepped back, looking completely scared. Uncertain of his ability to withstand him, he shielded himself because he seemed capable of tearing him limb from limb. "It has seemed I still have my terrifying touch," Naruto said, and the creature gave him a puzzled look. "Calm down, boy." The creature turned to face Naruto, saying, "I want to thank you, not hurt you." "Thank you?" asked Naruto. It said, "Yes, I have been trapped in those containment units for a very long time." "But who are you?" "Even better, who are you?" Naruto asked. Upon glancing down at the creature, Kyubi continued, "That's what I'd like to know as well." Introducing himself, the recently found Anti-Venom said, "Well, Kyubi and Naruto Uzumaki, I am known as Anti-Venom." "Anti-Venom?" Naruto asked. "Yes. As for who I am, I'm from a race of beings that originated in the galaxy's most remote regions," Anti-Venom said. According to Anti-Venom, on Earth, we are identified as symbiotes. "What is symbio?" Naruto asked, perplexed as the creatures moaned. "It's just as I saw, this boy has low intelligence among other pitiful humans," Anti-Venom said. "Hey," Naruto said after hearing that insult. "Let me explain," Anti-Venom said, referring only to himself and us. "In contrast to other symbiotic organisms on Earth, we do not feed off of others until nothing is left. Rather, we offer them aid in exchange for something. Symbiotes are a race of organisms that, like parasites, feed off one another." "Help them?" Naruto asked. "Yes, but instead of explaining it to you like that, let me give you a fast play," Anti-Venom responded by holding out his palm, from which black and white tendrils sprang, sticking to Naruto's skull as he screamed as memories raced through his mind. These included images of a young teenage lad fighting crime, villains, and other evil guys while swinging through a metropolis on a webbing while dressed as a red and blue spider. Suddenly, the memories changed to a different one where he saw the spider-costumed figure and other things from that person's perspective. "Whoa!" said Naruto as he startled out of it. "So you learned my name by reading everything into my head?" "You're correct. It was then that I bonded with that figure you saw through his and our memories, Peter Parker aka Spider-Man. According to the statement made when I was transported to this planet aboard an anti-venom space shuttle." Naruto uttered longingly, "Spider-Man." "Yes, I gave him more strength, speed, and reflexes when we bonded, making him a better hero than he was before," Anti-Venom continued. "But he quickly began to fear me and how we were changing his mind, making him more aggressive. After he ended up separating us, I eventually connected with someone who recognized our strength. Eddie Brock, Peter's adversary, detested Spider-Man because of everything he had lost. We bonded because of his anger, but we were later torn away from my host again and strapped to a space shuttle that launched me into deep space." Naruto let out a gasp. "Whoa!" Anti-Venom asked. "So, kid, would you like to have real authority that no one in the town could ever give you?" "Well, I'm still not sure how having you inside me will do with my mind, but I also want to make an image of myself in this village, an image ninja and villagers will know whenever they cross paths with me," Naruto remarked, seeming tempted but conscious that he would never be able to surpass his father and his two sisters at his current level. However, based on what I saw of Spider-Man's memories, I also agree with his philosophy that great power comes with great responsibility. Alright, then I agree. "Perfect," Anti-Venom said. As the symbiote bonded with Naruto, Kyubi witnessed him scream before passing out again. When Naruto woke up, he was groping his head in confusion. After remembering what had happened, Naruto identified the item he had found as a symbiote. Pulling the suit over his head, Naruto grinned for the first time in a long time as he fired a web at the ledge and glanced up at the hole he had fallen through. "So I'm still wearing it, let's see." Back in time, 2 years ago. "To-san, Ka-san!" cried 7-year-old Naruto, who ran into the house only to find it empty. In addition to being clean, Naruto noticed that the house was empty. "Tu-san, Ka-san, where are you? Mito-chan, Nami-chan, are you guys home?" Still no response. Despite his best efforts, Naruto was unable to locate anyone. Naruto ran up the stairs and down the hallway to his parents' room. It was not covered. By telling his parents about Hiruzenjiji's teaching of his elemental affinities, Naruto intended to persuade them to train him alongside his sisters. He knocked on the door before entering the room and found it was empty, too. When Naruto went to his parents' desk to take a look around the room, he noticed something lying there. On the paper was clan heir documentation. Naruto read the article as a curious youngster. Despite being a goofy child, he was extremely intelligent for his age, and by the time it was finished, he was crying. The paper's text stated, "We, Minato Namikaze and Urdama Uzumaki, the heads of the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans, hereby denounce Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze as the clan heir of both clans and transfer the titles to Mito Uzumaki as the head of the Uzumaki clan and Nami Namikaze as the head of the Namikaze clan when they reach the age of 10. This is due to circumstances that involve more than just strength and political savvy. This has been agreed upon by both clan heads. Minato Namikaze. Urdama Uzumaki." Naruto couldn't believe what he had just read and didn't want to accept that his clan heir status, the one emotional connection he had left to his family, had been taken away from him. End of flashback. As Naruto changed from his dark to his normal clothes, he thought sarcastically, "That's fine because today is time to back home." Naruto simply frowned in that old memory, observing that they had mastered a lot of spirit art, that he had successfully used the first 2 phases of the wind power, and that his clones were still navigating the way to the Hiraishin. There were just 4 seats left for his family to eat dinner when he got back. It stung to be completely forgotten, even if Naruto no longer cared about his family. He didn't see the look his sisters gave him as he got closer to his room. Naruto went to his room, lay down on his bed, and said to himself, "Things are about to get interesting." He then fell asleep. The morning after. Anti-Venom's cry, "Naruto, wake up!" frightened Naruto, who fell out of bed. Naruto rubbed his head and wondered, "Why do you do that, Anti-Venom?" The Anti-Venom in Naruto's mind whispered, "Because, my boy, we have to start training," as he made his own breakfast. After eating, Naruto proceeded to the training grounds where he typically worked out. Naruto made 500 clones after receiving an order for Anti-Venom so they could resume their training from yesterday. "Good, now make say 500 clones to continue working on those spirit art from yesterday." Naruto nodded and began practicing his new Anti-Venom skills as his clones worked on the spirit art. He tightened his control because the spirit art was terrible. A few weeks later, his voice was filled with joy. "Very impressive to learn 2 of the most difficult Anti-Venom fighting styles is not easy feat, but you have done it, and I couldn't be prouder." "Thank you, Anti-Venom. Will that be all for today?" "Yes, I know about you progress into these fighting style moves, but before I can teach you further you must do something. Give me your order, Anti-Venom, and I swear on my honor it will be done." The Anti-Venom stopped gazing at Naruto's startled expression. "Don't be too hasty, Naruto. You should hear the mission before accepting, but since you are so eager, your mission is to kill every bandit at a small camp located east of here. I believe it is near 30 miles away from Konoha." Looking at the ground, Naruto continued, "But Anti-Venom I've never killed before." He sounded apprehensive about disappointing his teacher or father. "I don't think I can kill in cold blood," he replied. Anti-Venom stared at his student/son, unable to stop thinking. according to Anti-Venom. I know you're ready for this, Naruto. I agree that killing in cold blood is wrong, but I believe in killing to protect those weaker than you. I hope you learn too as well. Naruto remained silent as he thought over his words. Naruto stared up at his sensei/father with blazing eyes, repeating in his head, "No one ever looked out for me, so maybe if I look out for those weaker than me, I can stop people having to go through the same things I did." With determination, Naruto declared, "Even if it means killing, I will help others the way you helped me." After only a few weeks of training under his two brothers and his new father, Naruto was able to smile at how much he had learned about karma and anti-venom. He fled and gathered his supplies when the anti-venom said, "Good, go and gather all that you think you require, then we shall both go, so I can watch you fight." Naruto began combining his elements, which he later discovered were all 5, into the wind power after he had mastered it. By using the motion, he was able to increase the wind power. Wind style, raise and shuriken. He also succeeded in grasping the Hiraishin and making unique markings. The most surprising event, nevertheless, happened during a bout with Shursui. Rewind. Naruto dived under Shursui's kick, not expecting the punch to hit his face and send him crashing into a tree. Shursui rushed to Naruto and said, "Come on, Naruto, you can do better than that." Naruto was furious and wanted nothing more when Shursui prevented him from utilizing his symbiote. Shursui had heard Naruto's account of coming across anti-venom and acquiring the symbiote. Nevertheless, Naruto decided not to tell Itachi since he did not want them to try to take the evil powers and offer them to his sisters. When Naruto saw Shursui moving slowly, he halted and gazed at him in shock. Wondering what Shursui was staring at, Naruto took out a kunai and looked at his reflection, but instead of ocean blue eyes, his eyes were blood crimson with a tomo in each. Naruto had awoken the Sharingan. After learning that he had the Sharingan, both Naruto and Shursui were astonished. They searched the Uchiha archives and found that Naruto's mother was Madara Uchiha's daughter, but that he had concealed her Sharingan. As a result, Shursui taught Naruto how to use the Sharingan, helping him advance it to 3 tomos and, with great persistence, obtain the pentagram known as the Mangekyo Sharingan. Because Shursui also possessed the Mangekyo Sharingan, which put them both at risk of blindness, Shursui had a shadow clone switch his eyes with Naruto's so that Naruto might get the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. End of flashback. Once he had his provisions, he flew to where the bandit camp was. "Man, it's going to be a while before I get used to that," Naruto said with a moan. He stood up and looked about, shaking his head to clear the cobwebs. Naruto was able to see in the dark as soon as his eyes turned golden yellow. "I'm going to kill those bandits for harming people. So let's get to work." After a few more seconds, Naruto saw that a large number of people were in one location. "Got them," he said, throwing himself into the forest. Naruto Uzumaki, the Namikaze, is ready for battle. Compound Namikaze. Everyone's training for the day is now over. Naruto's mother was making ramen as she tried to make one of the hardest decisions of her life. Is it miso or pork? Minato Namikaze had to go back to his office because a meeting had been called. It appears that the Civilian Council would like to support the establishment of more civilian shops. Mito was taking a shower to cleanse himself after a long day of sweat and grime. Nami, however, was bored and had already taken a shower. Suddenly, she understood something very important. For her, there was a brother. Because of all the training she had been going through lately, she had entirely forgotten about him. He would play with her. With that thought in mind, she got up from the couch and went upstairs to her older brother's room. "Where are you going, Nami-chan?" said the Naruto mom as she saw her daughter making her way to the stairs. She rushed upstairs to play with her brother after that. Oh, I'm just going to see if Naruto wants to play with me, she replied. She smiled at the thought of him playing with her because they haven't had time to be true siblings because of all the training. However, Nudamam seemed momentarily confused. Naruto? As she pondered that, her eyes grew wide with recognition, horror, terror, and finally guilt. Oh my god, Naruto! I've lost my own Sochi-kun. How could I have forgotten about my only son? As a mom, who am I? She continued to think along these lines for a while. Her cute baby child, Naruto, never crossed her mind. The one who brought light into her life was completely forgotten. Looking at the arrangement on the table made her feel even more guilty. 4 bowls and 5 chairs. The chair they used for guests, not their own son. Since she didn't know anything about Naruto, Nudamam was unable to answer any questions concerning him. There is no way she could feel less than she does now. She could enumerate all of Mito's and Nami's likes, dislikes, future ambitions, and favorite foods and colors, but when she considered Naruto, her mother became anxious and tried to remember the last time she had seen him, but she was at a loss for words. She couldn't even recall his favorite hue. I don't know what color he likes, so what kind of mother am I? She tried her hardest and prayed, but she couldn't tell if Naruto liked ramen. How could I forget my son? I have to talk to Minato. We have to make things right again, she cried. Mito-chan, Ka-san! Nerda's mother heard a small, terrified cry coming from upstairs and immediately recognized it as Nami. She dropped what she was doing and hurried upstairs. She found that the mother was growing increasingly anxious as she walked toward the room, and that both of her daughters were looking into it with a troubled look on their faces. What's wrong, honey? Nudamama asked in the calmest way she could. Naruto has vanished. I can't locate him anywhere. When Nami yelled, Nudamam became even more agitated. Her worry and shame only increased when Nudamam went into her son's room. There was nothing to indicate that a small boy lived in Naruto's extremely empty room. The bed was little and perfectly made, with no creases at all. The room itself was a drab blue that may have passed for gray, and there was a hamper by the entrance, but no dirty clothing. His paintings were the sole ornaments in the space. Taking one of a mountainous forest with a waterfall tumbling into a pool, Nerda's mother questioned. Did Naruto paint these? A piece of paper dropped out of the book as Namam took it up and slowly glided to the ground as she read the title. Survival Tactics, Surviving Alone in the Wild. She was on the verge of tears when she saw the picture of the happy, smiling family on the page. In front of her was Mito, dressed in a white dress with her customary ponytail. To her left were Minato, dressed as headmaster, and Nami, with a blue dress draped over his shoulders. Nerda's mother was dressed as normal, in a green dress with a brown apron over it, and her hair brushed down. She started crying because Naruto was missing from the 1-year-old picture, which also had the Namikaze family on top. Nerda's mother sobbed and sent core energy into her ring to activate the seal inside when she realized how awful of a mother she was. She needed to speak with Minato now. Naruto! Is that you, Nine Fox? Yes, Naruto, our minds have a linked, meaning I can hear your thoughts as you can now hear mine and Anti-Venom's. Naruto, from now on this is your mission, so make your plan, replied Nine Fox. There are 26 bandits, 14 of whom are asleep, and 1 ninja, but the level of core energy I'm sensing is barely over Chunin, 4 civilian women, and a child that I sense are afraid but unharmed, Naruto stated, suppressing his anger at the mention of the civilians. Naruto nodded to the Anti-Venom and 9 foxes as he jumped from the tree and entered the camp. Your sensing skills have improved. Now that you have this information, use it to your advantage and eliminate the threats. The Anti-Venom outfit, imagine Peter's black suit, appeared as his symbiote enveloped his body. After sneaking into one of the bigger tents, Naruto saw 2 bandits who had already fled. Naruto took advantage of his nervousness by transforming his palm into tiny blades, similar to kunai, and slitting their throats, killing them in silence. Naruto leaves the tent, hides in the shadows of another tent, and keeps going until only the ninja and the bandits who are awake are left, defying the temptation to throw up. Emerging from the shadows of the tents, Naruto sneaks up behind the prisoners' guards and swiftly kills them by ramming a kunai into each of their temples. Naruto walks over to the terrified prisoners and tells them to be quiet while covering his masked face with his finger. When they agree, Naruto turns his palm into a kunai and slashes the ropes holding them. Sure, I'm here to help you. Now that I've untied you, I need you to stay here until I've taken care of the other bandits, okay? Okay, be quiet, I'll be back. Yes? Naruto was about to go when he felt a little tug on his suit and saw the group's only child holding it. Naruto inquired, "Please, could you save my Ka-chan?" With tears in his eyes, the small boy whispered. The man with the headband took her. Naruto nodded and proceeded straight to the camp's largest tent, which was most likely the only one where the group's ninja were present. While carrying to the remaining bandits, Naruto reached the tent in record time. He pulled a corner of it and slipped inside, but what he saw infuriated him. The unnamed ninja was smiling and ripping the poor woman's clothing off when he turned his hand to a blade. Naruto looked at the woman and said, "Miss, you're safe now. Your son is waiting for you with the other villagers." As he stabbed the man in the heart and chopped him in half with his other hand, Naruto saw the horror and her eyes change to relief. Kami Inari's safety is a relief. What's going on with the others? Asked the woman. The woman nods, and Naruto walks over to give her the bed sheets so she can cover herself. They are fine, a little shaken up, but fine. If it is okay with you, I will escort you to them and be on my way, stated the man. The now named Tsunami was asked, "Thank you for saving us. What may I call you?" "My name is Tsunami." "My name is Naruto." Tsunami was strolling quietly toward the other ex-offenders when a crying Inari suddenly leaped on her. "Ka-chan, you're back, you're really back, please don't leave again." Inari sobbed as he clung to her as Tsunami grinned and began to comfort her son. Naruto didn't see any reason to stay, so he started to head toward the camp gate, but he was stopped by shouting and footsteps. "Naruto, hold on!" As she and the others ran toward him, Tsunami screamed. "Yes?" inquired a puzzled Naruto if they needed him for anything else. "Thank you for saving us, but how can we repay you?" Tsunami inquired. I don't want anything," Naruto remarked as he began to leave, shocking the group who thought he would want something to help them. The Namike substance. Minato Namike simply stormed inside his home next to his distressed wife, a troubled expression on his face. While enjoying the tranquility on his journey home, he was worried when he felt a sudden pull from one of the Horatian seals. The pull trail, which he could follow when one of his seals was active, went to the compound. He didn't waste any time in flashing to his home, where he saw his two girls and his wife sobbing on the ground. "Naruto-chan, what's wrong? Tell me what happened," Minato murmured, embracing his wife. Naruto looked into Minato's eyes while still crying and exclaimed, "Minato, I'm such an awful mother." Her nose was beginning to look puffy, and her eyes were red from all the crying. Each crying phrase caused her tears to fall more quickly until they were pouring down her face. "Naruto-chan, you know that isn't true." Minato's heart pained to see his wife in such a state, but he was also confused by what she had said. He turned to face his daughters, who were also crying and holding to one another for comfort. A bad mother? How could she have thought such a thing? Since Nami and Mito were born, you have done an amazing job raising them. Just look at them, so beautiful and talented, yet so young. Don't miss any of our wonderful events or family vacations that you document on camera. I don't think I could raise our two beautiful children into the wonderful women they are growing into if I were headmaster by myself. Naruto Mom, you are an amazing mother. Our daughters, 2 children, special occasions. Each time it was only Mito and Nami, but what about her son? I have never missed our daughter's special moments growing up, but what about our son's special moments? Oh Minato, what have we done? Naruto's mother's eyes widened as her thoughts raced at what Minato had said, not with joy as he might have assumed. Minato was shocked by Naruto's mom's cry of pain and asked himself, "What did I say?" He was utterly confused and believed that his words would improve rather than worsen the situation. I really don't understand, woman. Naruto Mom-chan, please, tell me what is going on so I can help you. It seems that even his girls were crying more lately. Minato-kun! Naruto is here! Finally, in the midst of her sobbing, Naruto Mom managed to yell, soaking Minato's vest in the process. When the young Kage finally realized where he was, he saw that this was his son's room, not his daughter's, or the guest room. This was his only son's room, and the only decorations were his paintings, proving that it was Naruto's room. Naruto Mom, tell me, what happened to Naruto? Minato pondered, and then his eyes widened in concern and comprehension. Gradually, Minato began to feel his heart sink. As Naruto's mother described what she had witnessed, from forgetting to feed Naruto to forgetting that he was even their son, Minato felt regret, shame, and guilt rise as he fought back another sob. He was a headmaster, one of the best Konoha has ever had, but he completely forgot about his own son. He never meant to forget Naruto, he just wanted the best for everyone. He had to do something. Naruto Mom-chan, Mito-chan, Nami-chan, Minato began, attracting the attention of the sobbing Uzumaki girls. Where is Naruto-kun right now? He had to make things right again. We don't know. She started crying again, fearing that her bigger brother had fled. I came here to play with Oniai-chan, but I couldn't find him or anything that said he was even there in the first place, Nami said, shaking as she and Mito stood up from their tears. She pondered what would happen if their oldest sibling fled because of them, not realizing that her sister had the same worry. Minato made a quick hand sign as he focused and searched for the Hiraishin seal, which is placed on all of his children's clothing so that he could flash to them, or call them to him, in case they were in trouble, after they decided that they needed to talk to Naruto as soon as possible. Fortunately, the seal he was looking for was still within his range, but it was worryingly out of the village. Flying Thunder God, Stage 3 Summoning, the family gasped in terror as he threw a tri-pronged kunai ground and saw it light up before Naruto appeared in a flash of yellow. His hair was unkempt, he had scratches and bruises all over his body that were slowly mending, and his eyes opened in disbelief. The blood, not the blood that covered his arms, but the blood that dripped from his torso in a few spots, was what actually made them gasp, even though Naruto was perspiring and his garments were torn and ruffled in several places, and there were clear marks of cuts from a blade. Minato was shocked. Naruto shed more tears, along with maternal wrath at the sight of her damaged child, and Nami and Mito were both horrified at the sight of their brother being hurt, and resolved to hold the guilty party accountable for their acts. As he went to face his family, Naruto expressed his confusion by asking, "What the heck am I doing here?" He had been fighting some IWA ninja and was about to kill them when he abruptly left his home and inquired, "What the heck is going on?" In the jungle before Minato called Naruto. Naruto had been heading back to his home to start planning his escape from his so-called family, after killing the bandit camp and freeing the civilians, but he stopped when he heard something in the trees. Naruto changed into an anti-venom suit, sighed, and charged the IWA ninja, tearing them to pieces as the ninjas jumped out of hiding. He grabbed his sword, put it in whip mode, and swung at 4 ninjas, tearing through their necks and killing them. Just as he was about to kill the last 2 ninja, he flashed his deadly smile that would make anyone run, and then he vanished in a flash of yellow. The remaining 6 were stunned by his appearance, giving him time to shoot out wire webs he made with the ninja wire, which wrapped around 3 more and pinned them to trees with a pull. Unbeknownst to everyone else, a man's eyes grew wide as he silently stared at the spot where Naruto had been standing just moments before, confused by Naruto's disappearance. Where had he gone? How had he done that? Was that the Hiraishin? If so, how did he recognize the unique spirit art of the 4th headmaster? He smiled menacingly. That child, who is far more fascinating, shared his lips with the unidentified male. Naruto in the current. Damn it! Thought Naruto. I was so close to Naruto. He thought as he glanced at his parents and pondered their desires, while Anti-Venom and Nine Fox both nodded their heads. Nerd's mother, who was the first to lose her awe at his wounds, dropped down next to her wounded son, fear gripping her whole body. What happened to you, Naruto-chan? She recognized the wounds and bruises as human-caused injuries rather than play injuries. Someone had the gall to injure her infant son, and she was already thinking of a lot of ways to punish the perpetrator, whether they were a civilian or a ninja, a man or a woman. Naruto, who was even more baffled by his mother's actions, looked at Nudamon before turning to Minato. Was this a fraud? Since only his father can use the Hiraishin, that concept was soon discarded, and his father's speech jolted him out of his daydream. Minato said, "Talk to us, Naruto. As your parents, we wish to assist you. Tell us what happened to you." However, as Naruto appeared to be staring at him more intently with each word, his anxious tone gradually gave way to one of shock. Naruto was furious after all this time, immediately following his enjoyment of killing, immediately following his first kill or kills. How dare they? How dare they? They want to start treating him like a parent now. Naruto began to call forth the 9 Foxes' power in his wild rage, though he was unaware of it. In an extremely ominous voice, Naruto replied to his. His eyes turned a deep crimson with black slits in each eye. His spiky hair grew spikier and more wild as they jetted in different directions. The bangs that normally framed his face moved to the side and showed his darkened whiskers in full view. His teeth turned to fangs as they sharpened and grew slightly in length. Even his nails grew and sharpened, showing that they could easily draw blood from any victim in their way. I don't have to tell you anything, you listen here. You can't just leave me and then decide that you want me back. That's not how it works, Minato-san. Why would I want it now when I've already lived this much of my life without your guidance or support? If you want to help me, you can help me by leaving me alone. He was about to pass his sisters when Mito grabbed onto him and yelled at him. Naruto decided. That shouldn't be too hard for you to do, since you have done it most of my life already. As he slowly lost his wild aspect and ran past his shocked parents. Please pay attention, Nisan. Please accept our apologies. But her pleas fell on unwilling ears as Naruto pried his sister's arms from around his waist. Nisan said. Both of his sisters winced when Naruto scowled at them, but it wasn't nearly as intense as it was directed at their parents. Since his sisters didn't ignore him nearly as much as his parents did, and while they occasionally offered assistance, they also didn't go out of their way to make him feel less alone. Naruto honestly wasn't sure how he should feel about them anymore. Furthermore, he couldn't help but hold them partially responsible for the neglect, despite the fact that it was immature. Mito, please refrain from touching me ever again. Nami, the same is true. Since you both made an effort to show me affection, I don't despise you, but you should be aware that emotions can shift quickly. To make his point, Naruto discharged a tiny quantity of his anti-venom Ki, which was primarily fury, saying, It would be best for you to not push me right now. Even though they rarely encounter animosity from others, the twins felt like ants drowning in a very dark sea and had never in their life been so angry at anything. The sense of the power was what astonished and astounded Minato and Nudamon, who had never encountered such a strength from anyone, not even the Kyuubi. It wasn't that the power was stronger, wider, or even thicker than others. They were unable to identify what it was, but they could tell right away that it wasn't Kyuubi because it wasn't Yukai and that it wasn't core energy because it didn't emit the same life senior, despite being hauntingly similar to it. But Nara and I, we love you, Nami said, mustering the courage to speak. We don't want, she began to say, but Naruto just turned and walked away, ignoring her. Listen to us, we are a family, Minato yelled at his child. Naruto, please, son. But before he could say anything more, Naruto interrupted. We made a mistake. Shut it, he said. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your stupid reasons. As his ki flexed outward with sufficient force to force the others to retreat. In the end, you left me behind. I made a mistake, and so did you. No more. I assumed you loved me the way parents should, which was a mistake. I've moved on from you and don't need you anymore. My friends are like family to me. Not you. Now go away from me. After giving one more shout, Naruto ran away, leaving his distraught family to wallow in their own suffering. They anticipated Naruto would likely be upset, but they could never have prepared their hearts to nearly loathe them. Their son/brother wanted nothing to do with them, his own family, and the other Namikazes turned to each other as they grieved in reaction to Naruto's statements. As though someone had squeezed their nude hands into their chests and crushed their hearts, Mito, Nami, and Nerdamom cried so hard that the sound would not leave their mouths, and the floor was covered with tears. Unable to come up with anything to lift their spirits, Minato knelt down to the woman who meant the most to him, his mind wandering to his son and the anger he shown toward them. Where did it go so wrong? Naruto left the house, slammed the door behind him, went into his training grounds, took a long breath, held it for a few seconds, and then let it out in a heavy sigh. Once he had calmed himself, he decided it would be best to put his family out of his mind for the time being. Naruto! Anti-Venom, is that you? Yes, Naruto, what is the plan for us to escape this hellhole of a village? I will first formally disassociate myself from the Namikaze family by applying a Gen Spirit art to this file. This will make it look like a regular file, but it actually says that I, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, formally disassociate myself from the Namikaze family with the headmaster's signature. We will go one step closer to leaving this terrible village once this is finished. And its greatest quality is that Minato cannot alter it, Naruto remarked with a smile. But through their mental link, Naruto said they needed to get Minato to sign it while he was distracted. Calling your father by his first name means you have lost all respect for the man, Nine Fox said. That's right, why would I call that man my father after all? He has shown nothing to be called a father in my eyes. He's just a father to two those stupid asses of the village precious angels that are my so-called sisters. And the hypocritical bitch of my mother. Naruto sensed his smile in the mindscape with anti-venom. We're going to implement our strategy during Nami and Mito's birthday celebration tonight. Right. Naruto heard Nine Fox and Anti-Venom say the same things simultaneously. Time skip. Okay, here we go, Naruto thought as he began to remove himself from the Namikaze family. He entered his father's office and saw that he had piles of documents. Fortunately, he was distracted. After what had transpired a time before, Minato looked up in surprise at Naruto when he said, "Father." Naruto thought icily. Wow, it's surprising that he even remembered my own name. Minato responded. What is it, Naruto? I'm busy. Minato was looking back at a document he was reading. I need you to sign this, Naruto stated, holding a piece of paper with a Gen Spirit artwork cast on it. Not now, Naruto, Minato replied in a disdainful tone. Minato took the paper and signed it without even looking at it after realizing Naruto had said, "Please, if you sign this, I won't ask you for anything else." "There, it's signed, now go away!" Minato shouted at Naruto. Naruto smiled as he dissolved the Gen Spirit art as he left the office, understanding that his so-called father had been so stupid as to ignore it. Still, he smiled since he had completed the first phase of his escape strategy. After that, Naruto went to the archive building and handed the paper to the woman working there. She gave Naruto a copy and filed it away, although she was astonished to read what it was and even more shocked that the yondaime would sign it. After thanking her, Naruto headed home. He was startled to find a letter and a gift when he got to his room. He opened it and read it. Naruto, we regret not being able to deliver this to you in person, but Itachi and I have a mission to Suna that will keep us away for a while. We thought you would find the gifts we got on the adventure useful and hope you enjoy them. To your birthday, cheers! Shursui and Itachi. When Naruto realized that Shursui and Itachi were actually his siblings who looked after him like family, he couldn't help but cry. Naruto was glad that Shursui and Itachi had left him something, but he was still sad that they wouldn't be returning. When Naruto opened the box, he saw a large scroll that he recognized as a summoning scroll with a picture of a dragon on it. He also saw a broadsword that was nearly as tall as Naruto, who is 5 feet 8 inches. The handle was wrapped in white with a red pommel stone, and the cross guard was curved upward. The blade was completely black with sections that appeared to be able to separate. Then Naruto saw a button on the handle that, when pressed, caused the blade to split into pieces that were joined by a chain, demonstrating that the sword could also be used as a whip. Pressing the button once more restored the weapon to its original state. Naruto was pleased with the presents, and sealed them alongside everything else he owned that was valuable. He took out his canvas and some paint after realizing that he had everything sealed. He intended to leave something behind so that everyone could see what they had produced. Downstairs. Looking through the family album, Naruto's mother was crying because she could only find a few photos of him when he was 5 years old. She was unable to recall Naruto's preferences when she tried to come up with a way to help her remember what he loved or what to purchase him for his birthday. Before what had happened some time ago, she tried to recall the last time she had communicated with Naruto, but she was unable to do so. She was worried and attempted to recall everything she knew about Naruto, but she was unable to even recall his favorite color. "I have to make it up to Naruto somehow," stated Ndamon, who was determined to support Naruto despite not even knowing what color he preferred. The headmaster's office. After thinking about his son coming into his office earlier, Minato frowned as he tried to remember the last time he had spoken to Naruto, remembering what had happened during play and what Naruto had said to him and the rest of the family. "I grew away from you and I don't need you. I have my friends, and to me, they are my family, not you. Now leave. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your stupid excuses. You made a mistake, and I made a mistake too. I thought you loved me like a parent should, so no more." Minato was devastated to learn that his oldest child hated him and the rest of the family. Minato attempted to remember past conversations he had had with Naruto, but he could only remember conversations with Nami and Mito. Upon discovering that he had never communicated with his oldest child, Minato felt bad and devised a scheme to make amends with Naruto. Minato thought, "Maybe I can start his training, yeah, I'm sure he'll like that." He swore he heard the paper chuckle and said, "How did it do that, and is it laughing at me?" before taking a quick look at his papers, which seemed to multiply when he turned away. Later night. Because Naruto's sister's birthday was coming up, all of the clan leaders and heirs were there at night, along with the 6th headmaster, the renowned Sannin, and the 5th headmaster. Mito and Nami have been given summoning contracts by the 5th headmaster and the fabled Sannin. As Naruto waited in a chair for one of his friends to come, he noticed someone coming toward him. He smiled when he turned around and spotted the snake Sannin, Orochimaru. Naruto quickly stood up and bowed, saying, "Hello Orochimaru-sama, I'm glad you can join us today." Kukukaku, Orochimaru laughed. "You were always my favorite of the three Naruto-kun. The other two are not to my taste." Orochimaru was the only Sannin who did not ignore him entirely. He had been training him the ninja arts and stealth, and he was now the second and last semi-summoner after Anko. Because he is a semi-summoner, he can select a snake that he is familiar with and summon only that particular snake. Since he hadn't actually signed the snake summoning contract, he was free to sign another one later. "Thanks, I wish the other Sannin were like you," said Naruto. "In due time," said Orochimaru, and produced a wrapped scroll. "This contains a class spirit art, Katan Kasumi and Buno's spirit art, fire release, Miss Blaze dance technique, and a few more surprises sealed in this scroll," Orochimaru said, pointing to the scroll that contained the names of everyone who had ever taken care of Naruto. "Orochimaru-sama, thank you very much," Naruto said with a grateful smile. Orochimaru bowed and turned to go, adding, "Hopefully, I'll have it finished by next month." Naruto smiled as he went back to his room to get everything ready, asking, "Will Nisan sign it too?" Nami and Mito stared at the fifth headmaster and the legendary Sannin, who seemed surprised by the inquiry and did not remember Naruto. Fifth headmaster concurred with the explanation offered by legendary Sannin. "Oh well, you see, Nami and Mito the toads and slugs don't like having a lot of summoners, so I don't think so." Both Nami and Mito seemed sad that their Nai-san couldn't sign a contract. Minato said, "Don't worry, your mother and I have decided to start Naruto's training." Both Nami and Mito grinned broadly. Nami and Mito were thrilled that their favorite Nai-san would be working out with them. They said, "So Nai-san will get to train with us." "Yes, why don't you go get him and bring him down?" Naruto's mother thought Naruto was in his room when he wasn't at the party. When they arrived at Naruto's room and noticed that it was deserted and that Naruto was nowhere to be found, they all questioned, "Did Naruto paint these?" Minato grabbed one of the pictures of a forest with mountains and a waterfall that fell from them into a lake. He had never really had a chance to see these the last time he was in Naruto's room. Naruto's mom saw an envelope on the desk, picked it up, and opened it with shaking hands. The first piece of paper made Naruto's mom cry, and Minato read the letter, which said, "To Namikaze's. If you're reading this, you know that I'm currently near the Fire Country border and that I left the village. I just want to get away from it all, but don't worry about me. I'll survive and I'll keep my dreams. I'm sorry to leave behind those who care about me, but I can't stand it any longer. It hurts a lot to know that my so-called family still loves my sisters more than I do, and it was really the last straw for me. Namikaze's, good riddance and goodbye." As Minato turned to run outside, he saw another picture, but this time it was not a scene, but a huge black and white creature with a black spider symbol on its chest, jagged gold eyes, a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, and a forked tongue. Minato turned pale when he saw the other paper, a document that showed Naruto disowning himself, and his signature at the bottom indicated that it wasn't the paper Naruto had him sign. But how? "Join me, Sixth Headmaster, in locating and rescuing Naruto, the fabled Sannin who has escaped." Minato went outdoors once he had finished thinking about the black and white beast, and legendary Sannin and the Sixth Headmaster nodded at him. The Sixth Headmaster's dog Summon, Pakin, followed Naruto as the four of them quickly departed the village after Naruto's mother quickly donned her shinobi gear. With Naruto, Minato, Naruto's mom, Sixth Headmaster, and legendary Sannin soon showed up. As he got closer to the Fire Nation border, Naruto was web-swinging through the woods when he noticed four approaching signatures. He smirked and continued web-swinging till he entered a clearing and waited for them. Naruto's icy voice made them wince as he stated, "So you finally caught up to us. What are you doing, Naruto, and why did you go?" Minato inquired, trying to figure out why his son had tried to escape. Naruto added, casting perplexed looks. We believe the question should be why we didn't leave sooner. They all thought Naruto was just having a tantrum when the sixth headmaster said, Well, that's enough, Naruto, so let's go back. However, the clearing was suddenly filled with killing intent, which brought them to their knees. It was the same killing intent that Minato and Nerdamon had previously felt, but it was stronger this time. They all realized it was coming from Naruto, and they asked themselves, How is he doing this? We will never return there, Naruto screamed in sheer fury. Legendary Sannin asked if there were any other people present, asking, Why do you always refer to yourself as we when nobody else is present? Everyone gasped in shock at what had just happened as the symbiote grew on him and changed into the picture Minato saw. Naruto said, It's because that's what we are two beings, we are anti-venom. A web clung to Sixth Headmaster's chest before anyone could respond. With a sickening crunch, Naruto pulled the web toward him and punched Sixth Headmaster in the face, causing excruciating pain. In an attempt to end this as quickly as possible, the legendary Sannin charged at Naruto, but he was unprepared for Naruto to flip him over and kick him into a tree. Nerdamon tried to talk to Naruto and attack him. Nerda's mother pleaded with him to stop as she swung her sword at him, saying, We don't want to hurt you. Regretfully, we really want to hurt you. Mom, you've showed us something. Was there a regulation that an Uzumaki had to abide by at all costs? Once more, I wonder what it was. Oh, I see. The sixth headmaster tried to sneak up behind Naruto, but he didn't know that the symbiote would allow Naruto to sense any attack. Then Naruto threw Nerda's mother and the sixth headmaster aside by swinging them around. Naruto caught her wrist and crushed it, causing his former mother to cry out in agony. It's to never abandon your family, and those who break this rule are no longer part of this family or clan. Legendary Sannin engaged Naruto in a Thai spirit art battle once he had recovered from his tossing. He noticed an opportunity and began hitting Naruto, who was still dodging and ducking. Legendary Sannin kneed him in the stomach, causing him to cough up blood. Then, with a loud crack, Naruto drove his elbow into his shoulder, knocked him to the ground, grabbed his hair, and hauled him up by slamming his clenched hands on his back. Naruto charged up a wind power, but this time it was different. Wind style, power from the wind! Exclaimed Naruto, sending wind-powered wind energy into legendary Sannin's chest and rendering him unconscious. When a kunai came at him, Minato ducked and noticed that it had 3 prongs, saying, You completed the wind power. He was amazed that his son had accomplished something that he could never have done. The sixth headmaster and Nerdamon, who both woke up, were amazed by Naruto's strength. We also mastered the Hiraishin, Minato thought, but he was proven wrong when Naruto disappeared in a flash of white and black, and he felt pain in his side before looking down to see the kunai buried in him. Naruto pulled the kunai out and flicked the blood off, while his symbiote withdrew back into his regular clothes. Don't worry, you'll live, and don't think we spared you, any of you, because of sentimental value. We spared you so that you can tell everyone that we have power now, so know that we could have killed you but didn't on a whim, Naruto said after stomping on Minato's face, breaking his nose, and rendering him unconscious. He then proceeded to the border when he felt something grab his leg and looked down to see it was Nerdamon's good arm. While crying, Nerdamon begged, Please, Sochi, don't leave. We're sorry, please don't. Naruto squatted down and whispered something in her ear, causing her eyes to widen, before chopping off her neck and the sixth headmaster's. Naruto then departed Fire Country.